Central Bank of Nigeria revamps agriculture to cope with rising food prices, says Emefiele. World Bank partners mining office to digitize license application. The IMF says it deployed $6.8 billion in emergency support for Nigeria in 2 years. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. We are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. And I am Leah Kating Babatunde. Happy International Women's Day. A very good morning to you as we welcome you to this edition of Business Express. We join the world in commemorating the International Women's Day as we strive to break barriers in the workplace. Now, the Nigerian Mining Cadastral Office says the agency is partnering with the World Bank to upgrade its system for foreign investors to apply online for mining licenses in Nigeria. The Director General of the Mining Office, Obadiah Nkom, said this when he received a delegation of Optiva Resources Limited, a London-based investment organization, alongside its investment advisors, NPL Advisors. The agency, in a statement, said government is collaborating with the World Bank to upgrade the agency's system, and it is compatible with the rest of the world, adding that with electronic mining cadastre application-based system, a ready-made platform has been provided for investors all over the world to come on board. With the new system, investors can apply for a mineral title from anywhere in the world. Now, data generation and its analysis, economists believe, are critical to development of agriculture, as it shows the correlation between demand to food supply and cash crops. And this is why the federal government is putting together what is termed Reliable Agricultural Data Collation System for the development of the sector. Actualizing this database led to the partnership between cotton farmers and the National Bureau of Statistics. Musa Aliu has details.
Data is not just numbers or graphic presentation, but a system that analyzes the past, present, and as well projections for the future. Getting an accurate and reliable data, agricultural economists say, are paramount in the development of the sector. With the successes the country is recording in cotton farming under the Anchor Growers program, farmers are to assist by providing data regarding their production. The National Bureau of Statistics is to collate and analyze the figures provided by farmers.
It will help to provide the management of cotton and other relevant stakeholders with adequate, reliable, and timely circle information for informed decision-making process.
We have enormous data coming in continuously.
To achieve the desired objective, training of farmers in data collection will also form part of the partnership. The Nigeria's cotton production output has increased tremendously in recent times under the Anchor Growers program. This group of farmers believe that getting facts and accurate data about production as well as that of producers will help expand production.
Primary production agriculture is changing rapidly due to major developments in digital smart technology. Farmers use and share information from their smart devices on everything from weather and soil data to seed, fertilizer, and chemical recommendations. So on the program today, we will examine how effective agricultural data collection can help develop the sector. And to do justice to these, of course, you saw him earlier, is the President, National Cotton Farmers Association of Nigeria, NACOTAN, Anibia Chimogu. You're welcome to
Thank you
Business
very much.
Express.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. So perhaps we start the conversation by asking the connection between data and agricultural development, because we are still trying to catch up with the trend globally, right?
Yes,
So
we
what
are
would-
indeed. The importance of data, I mean, even in the simple terms, to know the number of farmers, for instance, in cotton, that are actually cultivating cotton, to know the actual yields, to know the incidences of pests, attacks, and so on and so forth. So data is very important. And with data, you can plan. We all know that. With accurate data, if you know the number of farmers, then you know, for instance, the number of seeds, planting seeds that you have available for the farmer coming into any season. We also have to look at the data on pricing to be able to effectively work out minimum guaranteed pricing for the farmer, because the farmer needs to have that information to decide, is it better for me to farm cotton, although we will encourage them to farm cotton, or to farm maize or soybeans or any other thing, any other crop. So data is very important. Look at the climate change effects as well. That also has to do with data collection, so that we can now know how to address, for instance, without data on climate effects, we are not able to determine when is actually the planting window that we have to put seed in the ground.
Okay.
So it's important, yes.
So how did we get to a point that Nigeria is still far behind?
Well, I think, for me, I think is that we are not leveraging on what we already have in place. For instance, we went to the Bureau of Statistics because we know that they are the best people for collation and management of data. And we, on our own as NACOTAN, we felt that we needed that support, training to be able to effectively collect data, and be able to disseminate that data effectively. So I think that we're not reaching out. We're not creating the necessary partnerships. These structures are there. These agencies are there. And I think that once we begin to reach out, either from their side or from our side, it doesn't matter. The point is that handshake must happen. And if that handshake happens, I believe that we will get to where we ought to be.
Okay, so when that handshake happens,
Yes.
what are your projections for the cotton and textile industry?
For instance, I mean, we are responsible chiefly for data, provision of data, even to local and international, like I said. So if we, for instance, approach the government and ask for assistance here and there, we must be able to tell them in the first instance where we are. Then we tell them where we would want to get to if certain interventions are provided for us. And for instance, the world, as it's a global crop, cotton. And if we don't give them the right data, then whatever the world takes as per Nigeria, that is what it will be. Meanwhile, we will suffer because where interventions also globally can be brought into play, we miss out on such things. So I think that, data in itself is important, like I said, for planning. It's important that you know where you are and where you want to get to.
Okay, so I understand that some farmers have already been trained on data collection. Can you bring us up to speed on that? And do we have women in that population?
Well, first and foremost, let me answer your second question first. We do. And we're actually deliberate about, gender mainstreaming, making sure that the women that are interested in cotton farming are able to actually have access to farmland. That is why we have decided to go with the contiguous farmland approach model, whereby we know it's difficult sometimes for women to actually have access to farmland. But with what we're doing, they'll have access to farmland. Now, yes, training has been done by train the trainers approach. That's what we do. So we approach the Institute of Agricultural Research, who train our own agronomists, field agents, and in turn go down to the grassroots to train the farmers. And part of it is what we even call farmer business school. So the farmer has to actually know how to measure his or her land in the first instance. We talk about 1 hectare per farmer. Sometimes, actually on ground, it's not 1 hectare. So the farmer needs to understand how to do that, how to generate that. Also, we talk about cost of farming. So you say, okay, it costs so amount of money to cultivate 1 hectare, and this is the price I'm getting. So let the farmer also understand the actual profit that they are making. So those are the things, and then application of your inputs is also equally important for that. And you need data to know that this is the quantity I need, and this is the time that I need to apply this input.
Okay, so before I let you go, can you speak to us on the federal government's policy on uniforms for armed forces? We understand it was designed to boost cotton production. Where are we on that?
Well, I think it's a long step, but we've started. And I think that I'm proud to always say that for cotton, under the Anchor Borers Program intervention of the Central Bank of Nigeria, it was a value chain approach. So they not only support, cotton farmers, they supported the ginners, they supported the textile companies and the garmenters. And finally, they brought the uniform services as a first, at least, market access for the sector to sign up and say that they will source their uniform fabrics from Nigerian produced cotton and fabrics. So we have started, we are there. And in fact, in a couple of weeks from now, we're going to call a general CTG stakeholders meeting, and where we'll now be able to track exactly how far we have gotten. But it is a step in the right direction. Where government is serious. Government has accepted the fact that the CTG sector is an important sector. It's a job creator, wealth creator, and it's important that an industry that is worth well over ₦1 trillion should not be left on its own. So government has identified that through the Central Bank of Nigeria, and I'm glad to say that we have recorded successes. The only thing is, I believe we don't talk much. We don't speak too much about this. But we want to start that, yes, because the data is there, and that's why we met with the MBS to be able to collate these things and be able to say, look, this is actually the effect of this intervention, and we want it to continue.
Okay, most sincerely, thank you, Mr. Chimugu, for always sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nice day.
Thank you.
Yes, so we move straight to surviving COVID-19. Of course, we're celebrating International Women's Day, and that's our focus this morning, how women and their businesses are able to survive the COVID-19 pandemic, as put together by Moplang Dakok.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Businesses owned by women have been described as very key to ending poverty and achieving sustainable development. A World Bank report says female income contributes at least 30% to extreme poverty reduction, while an annual Global Entrepreneurship Monitor survey shows that 41% of early-stage businesses in Nigeria are run by females, while 39% are run by males, with contributions in agriculture, textile, entertainment, ICT, and almost every sector of the economy. With women's huge contribution, it goes without saying, therefore, that they were most hit by the pandemic.
I produce therapeutic mat. I'm also a farmer. But it's quite unfortunate that when coronavirus came into the country and the lockdown really affected us, even going to the farm, it was not easy. Even for you to sell your products, it was not easy.
I do fish farming, I do zobo, I do kunoaya. So many of us were into business, but we really don't know how to go about it.
Despite the negative impact of COVID-19, women like Comfort Ngozi are able to identify other opportunities. Her goal is to remain in business.
I've been making school uniforms for school uniforms and then security uniforms for up to 5 to 10 years now. But during the COVID, I started making face masks and the PPE. But the fabric is not available, so I diverted into food packaging.
Vanessa Oji, a business consultant and trainer, says challenges faced in business can be surmountable.
Most times they have this complaint of business is not going, business is not this, business is that. We have more complaint than we have success stories of businesses, especially amongst women. And it's paramount we know that if women can run business and run it well, it will help the world at large.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central.
A happy International Women's Day. The AFCFTA is seen as a catalyst for women following the declaration of the years 2020 to 2030 as the new decade of women's financial and economic inclusion. In the declaration, African leaders recommitted to scale up actions for the progressive gender inclusion towards sustainable development at the national, regional and continental levels. To take a look at the AFCFTA, its promises to unlock the potential for African women to move from micro to macro businesses is an entrepreneur, Modupe Oyekunle, and of course she is the National Coordinator, Association of Nigerian Women Business Network.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Business
So good to see you.
Express.
Thank you so much.
And happy International
Happy
Women's
International Day to you too. You look good. And well done for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, can you give us some perspective about the AFCFTA and women when we're talking gender equality?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for having us. My name is Modupe Oyekunle, like you said. I'm the National Coordinator for the coalition of 63 female associations all over Nigeria that are into business. And you know that AFTA is actually something that is clearly interesting to us. And we have been actually advocating for mainstreaming gender when it comes to AFTA. And you know, looking at both ways, there are two ways to it. Number one, the aspect of ensuring that women are at the seat when it comes to decisions that are being taken with respect to AFTA. And we're looking at ensuring that, you know, some of our women associations and a representative from ANWBN is on the council. In fact, we were at the program that was done with the organized private sector, where, you know, NECA, ANWBN, NASME, we all came together, you know, and spoke to the government on what we expected. Now, but on the part of the women, one of the challenges we've seen is the fact that, you know, with respect to AFTA, there's a need for women to come into clusters because of several micro and small businesses that we have. You know, women play a majority in the micro and small businesses. And so playing in AFTA as opposed to men, you know, owned businesses, what we're encouraging is women coming together in clusters so that, you know, they can be strong. There are partnerships and synergy that can help them to be able to play in the agreement.
Okay. How is this panning out with policymakers?
Well, you know, and that's why we are, you know, all over Nigeria, our women are here in Abuja. One of the ways this is playing out with policymakers is that we want to ensure that we have more women sitting on the table. And what we are asking for with respect to the 35% affirmative action is not because of anything. It's first of all because of the perception of our nation, you know, amongst developing countries and among developed countries, to say that countries like, you know, Rwanda, countries like South Africa, you see 61%, you see 46%, and, you know, you see that impact on their GDP. So what we're saying is that let's have, you know, women, you know, sit on the table so that decisions that have to do with anything, we can ensure that gender is mainstreamed. So that's so how is playing with policymaker is to ensure that, you know, gender for women when it comes to AFTA is mainstreamed.
Okay. Yes. So how the Pan-African, the continental free trade area, can you quickly just cap it for us, women in that space?
Okay, women in that space, with respect to a lot of things that are going on, you know, women in that space, obviously, you know that the number is very low. Yeah. You and I know that number is very low. So on our part as an association, we're building the capacity of women in that area. And there's a lot of sensitization that is going on, and there's a lot of things that are going on with respect to that, and that is why here I don't know whether you would like me to just put a bit of deviation to what is going on right now in Abuja. Would you like me to do that a bit?
About the protest?
Yes, and I would like to bring a little bit of deviation to that. And the reason why I would like to do that is to actually use this opportunity to call on the government. We are not anti-government. We are together. Democracy is government by the people. For the people, with the people. Yes, and what we are saying is that all of the issues, the issue of AFTA, the issue of development, as an organization, we did a survey. And on the survey, we have what we call the Women National Business Agenda. We saw that there were 5 priority areas that affect women seriously, in Nigeria. And as I mentioned, it does not only affect us as women, it affects every other person. High rate of insecurity, the issue of power, the issue of road network, and infrastructure, because all of those things are going to impact on AFTA, whether you like it or not. And if because you're talking about commodities being moved from one point to another point, you're talking about power, so when you get to that, we want to ensure that women, in terms of perspective, are put into whatever. So and for that to happen, we have to be on the table. Yeah. So I'm calling forth that let us continue to dialogue, let us continue to sit on the table and listen to us as women. International Women's Day is about celebrating us. Other nations of the earth are celebrating their women. And we should be seen as a nation celebrating our women. Not to give us on the first of the month and a gift that says no to us. Let's talk, and when we talk, we'll be able to make things happen.
Of course, we're also on this part going to get everyone on the table.
That's actually the point.
For everyone.
And let it work for us. And it will in fact impact on AFTA as well.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Modupe, for showing up on the program this morning.
Thank you.
And happy protest, by the way.
Thank you.
So we move on to the capital market, where investors lost 3.23 billion naira as all share index dipped marginally by 0.01% to open the week negative Monday. This is on the back of the Russian-Ukraine war. The market closed at 47,262.61 basis points, with market capitalization dropping to 25.471 trillion naira. 291.88 million shares were traded in 4,792 deals valued at 2.855 trillion naira. Market breadth closed positive as Cornerstone led 19 gainers as against 16 losers, topped by Nigerian Insurance at the end of Monday's session. Jais Bank, Access Bank and UBA were the most active to boost market turnover. Guarantee and NTA Nigeria topped the market value list. The market will be resuming this morning, or rather has resumed this morning. On that note, we move to the global scene with Buster Abel.
Global stocks are bleeding on Tuesday with the effects of Russia-Ukraine conflict. European markets are set to pull back as prospect of a West ban on Russian oil import fuels concerns about inflation. Britain's FTSE 100 is set to open around 54 points lower at 6,605. Germany's DAX is seen down around 222 points, and France's CAC 40 is expected to shed around 104 points. Asia-Pacific stocks fell, with mainland Chinese stocks leading losses regionally. China's Shanghai Composite dipped 2.35. Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong led losses among the region's major markets. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 also slipped 1.71%. In the United States, futures fell slightly in early morning trading Tuesday, following the S&P 500's worst day since October, as investors remain on the edge about surging oil prices and slowing economic growth amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 397 points. S&P 500 futures traded 1.21% lower, and Nasdaq 100 futures fell 1.42%. The same factors are affecting African markets, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index on negative notes. Boss De Able, Business Express.
Thank you, Bosse, and this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube. We value your feedback. Do join us again on Wednesday at 3 p.m. for another package. I'm Leah Katun Babatunde saying stay safe and be blessed. God bless Nigeria, and let's break the barriers and break the glass ceilings. Happy International Women's Day.